Since 1991, the Utah State Railroad Museum in Ogden, Utah has been home for Denver and Rio Grande Western number 223, which is a Class C16 narrow-gauge steam locomotive. For more than 20 years, the locomotive was restored by the Golden Spike chapter of the Railway and Locomotive Historical Society. On June 8, 2026, the first steps were taken for its move to Colorado under ownership of the 223 Locomotive Foundation. The Golden Spike chapter were the first to arrive that morning to set up the temporary tracks to move the tender out of the shop where it had been completely restored. Ogden actually has a very rich narrow gauge history, and in fact the Union Station in the 1880s did have dual gauge, both standard gauge and narrow gauge trains serving it. It's a fun nod to history to know that for the first time since 1889, 3-foot gauge tracks have been laid at the platform of the Ogden Union Station. The original plan was to push the tender out of the building by hand, as has been done multiple times, including when it was sandblasted in preparation for painting. John Bush explained that one of the lessons he's learned in his decades of experience in the rail preservation industry is never move something by hand if you can use a forklift, which are in fact wise words. And so a forklift was utilized to pull the tender out. Being right next to Union Pacific's Ogden Yard, we took regular breaks from the work to watch trains.
Behind, or slack the chain. Okay. Want some paint on it? That was fun. You guys have to get some damn generous with that gun. Now we can go up the seat.
Go ahead, keep moving. You're clear.
With the tender fully out in the sunlight, it was a bittersweet moment to admire the work that has been done by local volunteers before it's moved way to out of state. It was a few hours late, but finally the crane arrived. The semi-truck that would take the locomotive to Durango had arrived a few hours earlier, and it finally was time for it to back down the station platform to start loading the tender. Wagstaff Crane has supported the Utah State Railroad Museum in the past, lifting and moving multiple pieces of equipment, including parts of the 223. When the boiler was separated from the frame, Wagstaff actually did that service for us as well. On this trip, only the tender, the cab, and the pilot, all of which have already been fully restored, were moved. The engine assembly, the boiler, and the other parts will be moved at a later date. With the tender rigged in the slings, it's time to lift. Jokes about flying grand were made throughout the day as this equipment was lifted into the air. Because of the tight confines of the Union Station platform, the crane was necessary to lift and rotate the pieces that were being loaded on the trailer. If there was more space, the tender could have been rolled onto the trailer and the other parts loaded with a forklift. But unfortunately, that wasn't possible in this situation. The biggest challenge was to move the tender 90 degrees. Since coming out of the restoration shop, it was perpendicular to the platform where the truck was parked. At one point, while the tender was in the air, traffic backed up on the 24th Street Viaduct as people driving by stopped to see what was going on. With the tender on board the trailer, it was now time to move the cab. The crane operator was worried that lifting it might damage the wood cab, but with a little bit of extra interior bracing, it was perfectly fine. Well, it's unfortunate that those who volunteered for 30 years, many who have passed away, won't be able to see the 223 completed under their own hands. The future for the locomotive is bright, and we look forward to seeing it finally operate.